Jake earns $98,000 a year. After his mortgage, utilities, HOA, taxes, and insurance, he has $674 a month left for everything else. That is not a typo. And if that number made you stop for even 1 second, stay with me. Because what I am about to show you is the exact math your lender never ran before you signed. Hit that subscribe button right now. Everything in this video is the conversation nobody had with you at closing. Let's get into it. Jake bought a 3,400 square foot house in a master plan community 35 minutes outside of Dallas. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a 3-car garage, a formal living room nobody ever sits in, and ceilings so tall you would need a ladder just to change a light bulb. The purchase price was $512,000. His monthly mortgage payment came out to $3,050. He thought that was the number. He thought that was the cost. He was completely, catastrophically wrong. His first electric bill in August was $480. Texas summer, 3,400 square feet, 3 HVAC zones, running full blast because the builder used the cheapest insulation that still passed code. His water bill was $170 a month. Property taxes in his county run $7,400 a year, $617 a month, every month gone. Homeowners insurance costs $2,700 a year, another $225 a month. The HOA charges $280 a month for a pool he has visited twice and a gym he has never entered. Add it up. Mortgage, $3,050. Utilities, $650. Property tax, $617. Insurance, $225. HOA, $280. Water and basic services, $170. Total monthly cost to exist inside that house, $4,992. That is $59,904 a year just to keep the lights on and the lawn green. Jake earns $98,000 a year. After taxes, he brings home roughly $68,000. His house consumes $59,904 of that. That leaves him $8,096 a year, $674 a month for food, gas, car payments, clothing, health care, and every single other thing that makes up a human life. He has nothing left. He is not building wealth. He is renting his own mortgage from a house that never stops demanding more. Does that math sound familiar? If you have ever opened a utility bill and felt your stomach drop, this channel runs the real numbers every single week. Subscribe now, and you will never miss one. My name is Jake, and I spent the last 8 months digging into why ordinary people with good incomes are systematically destroying their financial futures by buying homes 2 to 3 times larger than they actually need. Before you scroll past this, if you bought a house in the last 3 years and feel like your paycheck vanishes before you see it, this video is the exact conversation nobody had with you at closing. Stay with me. Here is the belief that is making you poor. More square footage equals more success. You have been told in 1,000 different ways by people with a financial stake in your decision that bigger is better. That the mortgage payment is the cost of home ownership and everything else is just normal adulting. That buying the largest home you qualify for is what smart, successful people do. Every single piece of that is wrong. And the people who sold you that belief, the real estate agents collecting 3% commissions, the mortgage brokers qualifying you for the maximum loan amount, the builders who profit on square footage and cheap materials, none of them will be around when you are sitting at your kitchen table at 11 p.m. trying to figure out how a $98,000 income leaves you with $674 a month to live on. The lender told Jake he could afford it. The lender calculated affordability using only the mortgage payment and completely ignored the operational reality of a 3,400 square foot house. That is not an oversight. That is how the system is built. The lender gets paid when you close. They are not responsible for what happens after. According to a 2023 report from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, homes larger than 3,000 square feet spend an average of 73% more annually on utilities than homes between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet. 73%. That is not a small premium for a nicer house. That is the difference between a manageable bill and one that quietly dismantles your financial life every single month. Jake pays $650 a month in utilities. A comparable family in a 1,600 square foot house pays closer to $370. That $280 monthly difference is $3,360 a year. Money Jake does not have and will never get back. A 2022 analysis by Home Advisor found that annual maintenance costs for homes above 3,000 square feet average 4.2% of home value per year. On a $512,000 house, that is $21,504 a year in expected maintenance, roof replacement, HVAC systems failing, water heater giving out, foundation settling, deck rotting. None of these are surprises if you run the math in advance. All of them are catastrophes if you do not. Jake is budgeting maybe $2,000. The gap between $2,000 and $21,504 is where financial lives fall apart. Jake also moved from a 950 square foot apartment. His furniture disappeared into the new house like it never existed. His société spent $22,000 furnishing rooms he barely uses, put $17,000 of it on credit cards, and is currently paying 21% interest on furniture debt for a formal dining room he has used 3 times and a guest bedroom that sits empty 11 months of the year. The house demanded the spending. He had no choice but to comply. Stick around for the next 2 minutes because I am about to show you a number that will completely change how you think about what you can actually afford. Jake is spending $59,904 a year on the McMansion. Now picture the same Jake, same income, same city, same life. But he buys a 1,700 square foot house for $285,000 in an established neighborhood with no HOA. Mortgage, $1,690 a month, $20,280 a year. Utilities, $370 a month, $4,440 a year. Property tax on a lower assessed value, $4,100 a year. Insurance, $1,500 a year, no HOA, 0. Water and services, $95 a month, $1,140 a year. Total annual cost, $31,460. The difference between $59,904 and $31,460 is $28,444 a year. Over 5 years, that gap is $142,220. Over 10 years, invested in a basic index fund at 8% average annual return, that $28,444 a year becomes $412,000. $412,000 that Jake does not have and will never have because he bought the house that looked like success instead of the one that builds it. Thousands of people have watched this kind of breakdown and immediately pulled up their own numbers. Subscribe if you want to be one of them. This channel exists for one reason: to run the math. Nobody ran for you before you signed. The retirement picture is worse. Jake is 32 years old with $11,000 in his 401k. He should have north of $80,000 by now. He is saving 1.8% of his income because that is all that survives after the house takes everything else. At that rate, with 7% average annual growth, he will have approximately $310,000 at 65. That is not enough to retire on. He will be working into his 70s, assuming his health holds, assuming he never gets laid off, assuming nothing bad ever happens. And that last assumption is the most dangerous part. Jake's emergency fund is closer to 6 weeks of expenses, not the 4 months he tells himself he has. One medical bill, one job loss, one HVAC unit dying in July. Any of those and he misses a mortgage payment. 2 missed payments and the bank starts the process. 3, and the house he stretched to buy is the reason he loses everything he built. A 2023 bank rate survey found that 58% of homeowners with mortgages over $450,000 have less than 3 months of expenses saved. More than half. These are not reckless people. These are people who were told the mortgage payment was the cost and found out the hard way it is not. Here is what makes this trap so effective. The house feels like the reward. Jake feels proud every time he pulls into that driveway. He feels successful when there is enough space to host Thanksgiving. He feels like he made it when co-workers ask about the house and he says, yeah, about 3,400 square feet. Those feelings are real. They are also bankrupting him. The cost of feeling successful is $28,444 a year and a retirement that does not exist. A 2021 study in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that homeowners in houses between 1,200 and 1,900 square feet reported virtually identical life satisfaction compared to those in homes over 3,000 square feet, and that larger homeowners reported significantly higher stress tied to maintenance burden, financial pressure, and the obligation to upkeep a space they did not need. The extra bedrooms do not make you happier. They make you more anxious, more stretched, and more trapped. Jake uses 4 rooms regularly: bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and the family room with the TV. The formal living room has been used once in 2 years. The flex space is where boxes go to die. He is paying to heat, cool, insure, and tax 3,400 square feet while living in about 1,100. The rest is expensive, taxed, climate-controlled waste. The status competition is part of the design. Jake's 2 closest friends bought houses around the same time. Nobody said they were competing. Nobody had to. If they were buying 3,200 square feet, a 1,700 square foot house felt like falling behind. So Jake bought 3,400. The builders won, the banks won. Jake and his friends all lost together, and none of them talk about it because the houses still look impressive from the outside. A 2022 Federal Reserve analysis found that household debt-to-income ratios are consistently highest in zip codes dominated by large new construction single-family homes. The McMansion neighborhood is not a community of wealthy people. It is a community of people performing wealth for each other while quietly drowning in the same debt. Every manicured lawn paid for by a HELOC. Every 3-car garage financed on credit. Every vaulted ceiling held up by financial anxiety nobody mentions at the neighborhood cookout. If this is landing close to home right now, hit that like button. It takes 1 second, and it tells me this content is worth making more of. Now here is what you actually do. Before you buy any house, calculate the real total cost of ownership. not just the mortgage. Add utilities, property taxes, insurance, HOA, expected maintenance at 3% to 4% of home value, and furnishing costs. If that total exceeds 35% of your gross income, you cannot afford the house, regardless of what the lender says. The lender's job is to approve the loan. Your job is to live what comes after. Drop your actual annual housing cost in the comments right now. Mortgage, utilities, taxes, insurance, HOA, everything. I want to see if your number surprises you as much as it surprises most people the first time they actually add it all up. Resist the maximum. Buy half the house the lender says you can afford and invest the difference. The extra bedrooms do not improve your life. The extra savings do. If you are already inside the McMansion and struggling, run the numbers on selling. If the annual cost difference versus a smaller house is more than $15,000, the transaction costs of selling are almost certainly worth it. Staying feels like perseverance. It is not. It is choosing to lose $15,000 a year because leaving feels like admitting something. That is a very expensive feeling. Ignore the comparison. Your neighbors are not funding your retirement. Your co-workers are not paying your utility bills. The people who will matter to you at 65 are not the ones impressed by your ceilings at 32. Here is where Jake stands today. 32 years old, $11,000 in retirement savings, $674 a month after the house takes its cut, 6 weeks of emergency savings, $23,000 in credit card debt from furniture and life expenses his paycheck cannot cover. One bad quarter away from a real crisis. And every morning he backs out of a 3-car garage in a car he can barely afford and drives to a job he cannot afford to lose. And it looks exactly like success. The house is the engine of it. Size not for his life, but for his ego. And the ego has no idea what it cost him. Jake can fix this, sell, move into a smaller house, and immediately free up $28,000 a year. In 5 years, that is $140,000 in savings and investment that did not exist before. A retirement that actually works. An emergency fund that can absorb a real emergency. The difference between a financial life and a financial performance. But he will not sell. Not yet. Because selling feels like losing. Because the neighbors will notice. Staying is not figuring it out. Staying is the house winning. The square footage scam works because it wraps a financial trap in the language of success and identity. Nobody buys a McMansion because they want to be broke. They buy it because they were handed a measurement of success. Square footage, granite countertops, triple car garage, and chased it without running the real numbers first. Run the real numbers before you close, before you fall in love with the vaulted ceilings, before the builder's agent tells you only 2 lots are left at this price. Add it all up, divide by your take-home, and decide whether the number that comes back is a life you want to live or a performance you want to keep up. Next video, I am breaking down exactly how to calculate whether selling and downsizing makes financial sense for your specific situation. A formula you can run yourself in 20 minutes. Subscribe so it shows up the day it drops. The house does not care about your retirement. The bank does not care about your emergency fund. The builder has been paid and is already 3 subdivisions down the road. You are the only one in this equation who has to live with what you decide. Don't let the square footage decide it for you. If this changed how you look at your housing cost, hit that like button and subscribe. Real numbers, real math, no sugarcoating. I will see you in the next one.